Hello, you guys. It's Danielle here. I was going to say it's Danielle here from DKW Styling Academy. I get confused with what show and what I'm recording something for that you never know, like, what title comes out. I'll be like, hey, guys. So we are on the Big Money Stylist podcast, and I have been doing this podcast for probably like 3 years. My husband talked me into doing it. I was like, hairstylists don't listen to podcasts. I'm not going to do it. I feel like I'm actually somewhat introverted, and I was like, I'm not going to do it. And then I started doing it. I started really enjoying it, and I actually really like talking with other students, other hairstylists, and kind of like hearing their stories. Because in the beginning, I started sharing my story of simply having crappy hair online when nobody was doing that. And all of a sudden, all these women were like, well, I have crappy hair too. And I was like, you do? You have toddler hair? So you guys, today I have a special guest. Her name is Mycha. What's your last name?
Mycha Spencer.
Mycha Spencer from Tampa, Florida. And the name of your salon is, I already forgot.
House of Charm.
House of Charm. Okay, I'm like the worst. I don't know about you. I'm like the worst with names. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, me
too.
too.
It was a lot all at once. But you have been in the academy since like early spring of last year,
Yep,
right?
March.
Okay. And how long have you been doing hair for?
10 years now.
Oh,
This will be
okay,
my
nice.
10th year, yeah.
Nice. And have you always done extensions, or have you done a little bit of everything?
You know, I've been kind of off and on with them, but I've never, done anything like NBR.
So you have color and cuts and all of it. And your salon, are you commission or booth ran or?
I rent a salon suite.
Oh, okay, cool. So
It's
it's
just
kind of
me.
like an independent suite.
Yeah.
Nice. And you've been doing hair for 10 years. What drew you? Tell me like your story about how you found NBR and like what kind of took you down this path.
So I've had my eye on NBR for a few years. Just really looking for a community and a method that worked for me. I've had one-on-one training and I've done other methods, but I was just looking for something that was just more than just getting a certification.
Right.
I wanted more business training. So a couple of years back, I was, looking online on Instagram and, very interested in NBR, but I wasn't ready back then. So then, like, after having my babies.
So she has twins. She has a boy and a girl. How old are they now?
They are 14 months now.
Okay, so I still remember when you were on our virtual class and you like brought these two little babies home. And I have a little 14 month. So what's their birthdays?
November 23rd.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
my Charlie is December 22nd. Yeah, so I knew they were close in age. And when you brought your babies up, I was like, oh, let's squeeze them. That's so cute. So twin, a boy and a girl. Those your only kids?
That's it.
Are
I'm
you
done.
You're done.
I'm so done.
I know. If I had twins, I'd be done too.
Woo, that's enough for me.
Nice.
They're a handful.
So
but a good handful.
you have your twins. Okay, so then keep going about your story with how you kind of jumped into the education.
So then, after having the babies and getting back into work, I wanted to get into education again. But I didn't just want to take something I've taken in the past.
Right.
I was looking for something more. I
Right.
needed, more entrepreneurship training and learning about marketing. And, I'm on my own now, which for 2 years now. So I was just looking for, just more in-depth training.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. After, looking at NBR for a while, I was like, I think I'm ready to do something different.
Right.
So I took it and I didn't realize really what I was getting myself into, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Our education's a little wild. People like come and they think it's just for like pretty hair.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what?
I thought I was just going to, there was just a 2-day virtual. I didn't realize that there was so many assignments I needed to turn in. But that's what really got me.
Yeah.
Because I realized I'm like, oh snap.
Yeah.
This is the real deal.
Yeah.
I really have to study.
Right.
And, I thought, I was like, okay, well, I need to turn in all of these assignments before the virtual. So I just like hustled. And I, obviously I had my hands tied up and, I had newborns. But, whenever they would go to bed, I just made that time to just study. And
Yeah.
I was so intrigued. And it was hard learning.
It's
something
crazy
new,
too.
but-
It's like I feel like life and timing is so crazy because probably when you have the least amount of time, you have, 2 twins and they're crazy. I mean, a baby alone is hard and then 2 twins and you're like, I don't have any time. And it's funny when you finally mentally make that shift, isn't it crazy how you make the time?
Yes.
And it's like, you're like, put your kids to bed and you're like, okay, well, I'm kind of tired, but it's quiet in my house and I have a couple hours.
Yeah, I didn't realize the capacity of what I was able
What you
to
could do.
What I could do.
Yeah.
But then having them and doing that, I was like, I can do this. It's hard. I don't feel comfortable, but that's just
I don't know about you,
future.
but I feel like kids actually made me work harder. It gave me a different perspective on time. All of a sudden, I was like, after I had kids, I'm like, oh my God, I had all this free time that I wasted. Why didn't I learn more? Why didn't I apply myself more? And I think that your time comes so much more valuable once you have kids. And I think too, it makes, like, for me, that's actually when I built my brand. Like my husband and I had lost everything and I was not even sure if I was going to stay married. And I had 2 kids at that point, and I was like, it's either sink or swim.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think it's easy to buy the program, and a lot of time it's easier to buy the program. It's harder to actually commit yourself and do the work. And I think that's what sets at least NBR education apart, is because I'm like, I don't care about making the money and just giving you another certification. I know that those that want to be here will actually do the work and apply themselves. And I think when you start, like, think about when you first jump into hair, and it's like you start to really enjoy it when you start to get good at it because you've put in the work behind it, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to be said in putting in the work. So kind of tell me, like, with your journey now, so you've got your kids, what has happened in you since I saw you last at the virtual experience? Like, how do you feel like your life is kind of, what's your life doing? Where's it gone?
Well, I definitely have gained more confidence in my business and marketing, and, you know, in front of the chair, behind the chair, just learning new tools that I can implement, not only in the salon, but also out of the salon at home and with my family, and the relationships that I have with friends and clients, and, you know, because of our core 4 and, you know, balance, it's not just about work, but it's also about, you know, just everything in your life. So
and you're married, right?
I'm engaged.
You're engaged, okay.
This is the year that we're planning our wedding. So.
Nice. So I think it's true too. I think as artists, and that was like kind of a goal for me, as I see so many artists who, they define success as literally working like every day, every Saturday. They don't even like know who their clients are anymore. It's just like another button, this, you know, in the chair. And like, to me, I'm like, that doesn't define success. That just defines a well-paid hairstylist who's not necessarily successful, right?
Exactly.
Like, and I'm like, I want to be able to have the success, but have the success on the flip side of like being with my kids and raising my kids, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I always preach, I'm like, work 3 days a week if that's what you want, and charge whatever you want in those 3 days a week. And then the other time that you can be with your kids and work on your relationship or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So I think that's something that maybe is not communicated well enough in my marketing, but I'm like, yeah, the hook is like the pretty hair, but like really I'm like, I've burned out behind the chair like several times. I think everybody has. If you've been doing hair for over a decade, you go through these roller coasters of like, I hate my job, I'm out. And then you're like, oh, I just need to cut out men's haircuts. That's weird. You know what I mean? Or you're like, oh, I just needed to stop working Saturdays. That's weird.
Start setting boundaries.
How many days a week do you currently work?
I work 4.
Nice. Mm-hmm. That's not bad.
No more weekends. And I finally let that go. I'm so happy.
It's hard, right? You almost feel guilty.
So hard. It was so hard, but it's so worth it.
Yeah. The minute you do, like, it's like you just feel like free. Like, even if you have nothing going on a Saturday, you're like, I could go to the grocery store. Like, I can go to Target. I can go shopping. I can get a pedicure. Like, you just all of a sudden are like, this is so great. Like, why didn't I do this sooner? But I think, too, like, when you have a niche, right? And you have something where you're not taking any and every client, it's kind of like a doctor. Like, we're like hair doctors. Like, we're like, no, we can decide the days we want to work. And if clients don't like it, then that's fine. They can go find somebody else. But if you, like you said, if you set your boundaries, then you can attract that client that's going to respect your boundaries.
Exactly. And focus more on my craft.
Yes. Are you doing, what would you say the percentages of, like, are you still taking on just colors, or do you have a mix of
color and hair extensions?
And extensions.
Yes, but I do not take any more, single services.
Oh, good.
New clients.
Is your goal to eventually kind of just shift to mostly just like the
completely
full NBR? I know.
Oh,
I'm like,
I mean,
it's really the best way to make the most behind the chair. It really is. I had my big shift when I remember I was taking on both, and then finally I like hit burnout again. And I was like, I am done. And I weeded out. Well, first I tripled my color price, and I still had clients hanging on. I was like, I just tripled my color price. Well, are you crazy? And then it got to a point where I was just like, I don't want to do this, just colors anymore. Like I can't charge in the thousands of dollars for just the colors. So I kind of had to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And even then it's almost like you're working less, but then you have to really look at your numbers and you're like, am I making less? So whenever I have, artists that are kind of scared to drop clients, for me, like if I say I want to work 3 days a week, 9 clients a week, and I say, okay, I'm going to cut out, like you said, single services, and that takes my, like 6 clients off my books or whatever, seeing those gaps on the books, sometimes that pressure is what really, it creates diamonds. Pressure creates diamonds.
That's right.
It makes you like, okay, I got to get uncomfortable. I got to get a lead in the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it's like, so tell me, like, what have you done differently with just like putting yourself out there in your marketing? Do you feel more kind of confident with that?
Absolutely.
Like,
just from before I joined the academy, I really wasn't that confident. Like I didn't know how to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
That was hard for me to do that. So, just throughout the academy now I'm learning, it's okay to be vulnerable. That's how you're going to connect with your audience and the people that, that you want sitting in your chair. So
yeah. What's your Instagram handle? I know I'm following you, but I can't remember what it is.
House of Charms
House of
Salon.
Charm Salon.
Like German, like house.
Like German house. And what days a week are you working?
Tuesday through Friday.
I'm just giving you a little plug. I'm like, if you're in the Tampa area. That's awesome. Okay, so tell me, I want to hear something crazy about your babies. What's been the hardest thing as a working mom and having 2 twins? Everyone has like their mommy guilt, right? Like even me, like I'm at home a lot with my kids, and there's times where I'm like, I either feel guilty for not working on the business or I feel guilty for not being with the babies. I'm like,
you just kind of learn how to just keep going with it,
Yeah.
like they're pulling on me while I'm cooking in the kitchen and I'm just still cooking, or, I get home from work and there's no time to just relax. Like I go from work and I come home and it's, I'm mommy and, I just have to find times when they're resting and they're taking a nap. Start working on marketing. I'm doing my daily 4. I'm doing so you just kind of find a different way to just make it all work.
Yeah, it's crazy because like I used to feel like so bad. I have like 2 sets of kids. I have 2 sets of girls, but my older 2, I was like working a lot when they were little, right? And I would like bring them to the salon when I was doing like videos and things like that for work. And I remember my daughter, I felt so bad that I was bringing her to work with me one day, and she looked at me and she was like, Mommy, I love you. Like, you're such a hard worker. So I think that kids notice, like, when you put in that work, right? I think that you can lead your children by example. And I always tell my husband, because women are always multitasking. We're always cooking. I could be on my phone and still being like playing Barbies.
Ordering groceries.
I'm playing Barbies in one hand and ordering groceries on the other hand. My husband's like, you need to be present. I'm like, excuse me, sir.
Right.
I got a lot to do. Like, my babies are fine just being by me. And then I'll carve out windows where I'm like, okay, phone's going away. Like,
exactly.
And for me, I feel very balanced if I do that. Like, it's all about pockets of quality time. And that could be even pockets of quality of time into your marketing or into your craft or whatever it is, right? So I think that it's okay to multitask as women, and we do that a lot. But then sometimes when I feel like that guilt creeping in, I'm like, okay, I need to set a pocket of time for marketing. I need to set a pocket of time for playing Barbies, even if it's like 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Like it was.
Gotta figure it out.
You've just got to find kind of that rhythm and that balance to having kids. And I forever thought that I'm like, I have to. Did you ever feel like you had to choose? Like I either have to like work or go all in and be a mom. Like my mom was an entrepreneur, and I always kind of grew up thinking like I always wanted to work, but I always wanted to be a mom.
Not now.
Not now.
Not now.
Did you always want to?
For me, it's always been about balance, because at the beginning of my career, the first 5 years, I hustled. That's all I did. It was just work. So now that I have my kids and my family, I'm just kind of like, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I think children put a different perspective. You're like, I'm not going to grind like that anymore. But then you're also
I
like,
want to see them. I want to raise them.
Exactly. So. But then on the flip side, aren't you like, I had so much free time. It was so good.
It's like, what was I doing with my life?
Literally. What was I doing?
What?
How many things can I be scrolling on? Like, what was I doing? I know. You just learn to kind of like juggle your time better. What made you want to get into hair?
I've been doing hair forever. I mean, I was that little kid that had that life-size doll, and I was just like always doing hair, bringing friends over, and like, hey, mom, like, who did hair better?
Yeah.
She'd always choose the other person. I'm like, my work was better than that, like better than theirs. It's just always been something I've been naturally into, you know.
Did you go to cosmetology school like right out of high school then?
So I ended up graduating a little earlier.
Okay.
So my first semester of high school. So I had about a year off before actually going to school. And in that time, actually, you know, it's kind of crazy. I got kicked out and I moved to Gainesville where my sister was and ended up living with someone. She ended up passing away from COVID last year. But she was a cosmetologist, was my sister's husband's sister. I lived with her. And I would go to work with her and apprentice her, and I just loved. And then eventually, it just kind of clicked. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm out of school. I moved. I got kicked out. I'm just trying to, you know, work in 2 jobs. Yeah, I didn't know. But then it just clicked. I was like, so this is how you make a living.
Yeah.
Like, this is. So then I ended up moving back home. I had the opportunity to move back home, and I went to school, and that was it. Like, I had the opportunity. I didn't have to pay rent. I'd saved up. I'd built my credit. And I focused on school. That was it. And then now, you know.
Here you are.
And now I'm here.
It's crazy because I mean, I always loved hair growing up, but I literally went to 1 semester of college and I was like, this is not what I want to do. And then I kind of had the same thing, similar, like where I'm like, I have a window. I'll try hair. And then ended up really liking it. I was like, oh, like you said, like it just kind of clicks and you're like, oh, I actually like this. And there's potential to make money in this industry. And the idea of kind of like being able to create your own schedule and things like that, I was like, oh, that's way better than going to get a job, you know, and working for somebody. I'm like, I'd much rather do that. Plus, I'm like more the creative type personality. So I feel like once you get into the industry and you're that creative type of personality, it's something you're like, oh, I actually really, really like this.
Felt right at home.
So would you put NBR in your hair?
Oh my gosh, I did. I actually took it out maybe a month ago. I had it in for 6.5 months.
Oh, okay.
Loved it. I actually did it because after having my kids, I was experiencing postpartum hair loss, and I just wanted to feel good again, you know? So that gave me that opportunity to just feel like a badass again. So
how many rows did you put in your hair?
I had 2.5.
Okay. So how many wefts did you have to put on each row? Ooh. Did you wear the deep wave?
You may have to call Amanda and find that out.
Who did it, Amanda?
Studio.
Oh, okay. I have.
I think I had the max.
You did? Okay.
For sure,
yeah. I was like, I mean, I can't tell how like fluffy your hair is because you have it all braided up.
Super curly.
Is it? Do you have a lot of hair?
I do.
Okay, so you probably had at least 2.5 to 3 rows.
Yeah.
So would you put him back in?
Hell yeah.
Oh, nice.
Can't wait.
Did you watch the training Garrett did? Oh, you guys were in class. Garrett did this training on Monday with all the students, and I was on a plane, so I was just like tuning in. And he was like going off for like 10 minutes, like, if you don't have this product in your hair, how are you gonna pitch it? And I was like, babe, like you're coming in hot and heavy, like calm down. But it is true, like for me, like. When I I always have them in my hair now, you know, but like when I had them in, it wasn't like I was selling it. It was just like, hey, I like these. Let me talk to you about them. Let me just tell you why. And then clients are like, yeah, I think I want to try them out.
Oh, it definitely helps for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know you have to catch a flight. I'm like, I don't want to.
I do.
Am I good? Oh,
my
no,
goodness.
we still got 5.
We
got time. We got at least 5-10 minutes. Okay, so you got into hair. You immediately loved it. Do you work with an assistant yet?
Not anymore.
Not. Uh-oh. Did this end bad or?
Not necessarily. It's actually someone that I mentored for years. And we're on a good term. She's incredible. But when you're not ready, you're just not ready.
So was she assisting you?
She actually took care of my clients while I was gone for maternity
leave.
leave.
Oh, that's good.
And was there with me a little bit after.
Yeah. And are you thinking you're going to hire another assistant?
Absolutely.
I was going to say, once you work with an assistant, it's really hard to not have an assistant with you. You're like, oh my gosh, where's my comb? Like, where is everything? So how you have been actually one of the fastest students to go through the program. Why do you think that is? Because I know it's possible. Like when I created this program, I'm like, I want it to be like a 12 to 18 month program. And I know it can be done in 12 months.
I'm afraid of being too comfortable.
Oh, that's good.
I'm done being too comfortable.
Yeah. Why?
You know, I just want to be out of my comfort zone. I want to do and try things I've never done. You know, I've been in a commission salon. I've been in a booth rental salon. I'm in a salon suite,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want to continue just learning new things and growing and just evolving.
Yeah.
You know, be an example to people that, you know, that are interested in what I'm doing. Show them you can do it. You just have to have a community of people that are going to support you and hold you accountable, and also hold yourself accountable. Don't settle for anything.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's the truth. Is like you really got to hold yourself accountable to the work that you're not doing if you're expecting a certain outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that the reason I asked this is because I know this program can be done. And so when I hear excuses, I'm like, I know it can be done. And I'm almost like, you need to commit to yourself. And it's not necessarily about the assignments. I mean, yeah, you have to turn that in. It's like hair school. Like half the stuff you do, you're like,
it's so much deeper than
you're
that.
like, yeah, it's way deeper than that. But
Yeah.
just like, you have to like get through this. And then like, you're like 3 months, 6 months down the road, like 9 months down the road, when you look back, you're like, oh, okay, I have grown a lot. Like I can see even in my, whether it's in my work or my marketing, but ultimately like your numbers should show that, a direct reflection. I always tell people, I'm like, if you want to know if you're progressing, literally like look at your numbers. Like don't just go off of how busy you are, but look at like what are you making and what are you making dollar per hour.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because a lot of times, at least in my career, I'll be like, I'm making a lot of money, but then I'm like, oh, but I also went from working 3 days a week to working 6 days a week. So that's not fun. I want to stay at the 3 day a week, but still make like I'm making 6 days a week. So
If
what
not
needs,
more.
So what needs to happen in order to kind of create that? So if you were giving advice to a new student or not a new student, like a new stylist in this industry, because there's so many like, I hate even still like like the other day my daughter's friend said she wanted to do hair, but she's like, my parents said I can't because hairdressers don't make any money. And I was like, do they know who? I'm like, do they know your best friend's mom? And they said, yeah, but you're a 1 in a million. That doesn't happen. I'm like, I have like 500 students that I could beg to differ. So what would you say, like somebody who's looking to come into this industry, like what's one word of advice? Putting you on the spot.
And believe in yourself. You know, I like to use the analogy, you know, a caterpillar doesn't know that it could potentially that it's going to become a butterfly.
Right.
You know, a seed doesn't know that it's going to bloom into a tree, you know. Just go for it. Believe in yourself and surround yourself around people that want to see you succeed, because your tribe is out there. You just have to look for it. There's more people that want to see you succeed than fail.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's it. Just believe in yourself and just create those boundaries and go for it. You have nothing to lose. You have so much more to gain.
Yeah. There's so many good one-liners you just said there that I was like, that was so good. Like all of those were such good one-liners. But I love that there was something you just said that you were like, you have to like, there's so many more people that want to see you succeed than fail.
Absolutely.
And I think that oftentimes we let those whispers get in our head. We let those whispers tell us, dictate what we can do. But in the reality is most people want to see us win. And I'll tell you in my experience, what's cool is like those people that you feel like are doubting, even if it's like friends or family members that are like, are you sure you want to do that? It's not necessarily they're doubting. They're kind of scared for you. And what you can do is prove to yourself. And it's not that you're proving them wrong. You're proving it to yourself. And all of a sudden they're like, wow, like it goes quiet, right? So all these like scary sideline noises of people that you think are doubting you, all of a sudden it's like they're rooting for you. Yes. Like they're like, she did it. And not only did she do it, now they're like your number one raving fans. They're like, I remember so-and-so.
I used to know her.
Yeah, I used to know her.
I used to work with her.
It's so true. And you're like, bitch, you were doubting me. You're like, that was not what you said in the beginning. You didn't like me at all.
I heard you talk about me.
You were whispering behind my back. Now you're cheering for me.
Nothing but love, though.
Yeah, but it's true, though. Like, if you believe in yourself, I think that eventually even the people that you felt like were kind of whispering are ultimately cheering you on as well. Absolutely. So I love that how you worded that. You're, like, really good with words. You're so calm and, like... You just,
I try.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of spazzy and like I say things. I'm like, did that just come out of my mouth? I'm kind of like more quirky, I would say. But anyways, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
I'm excited to continue to watch your journey. I'm excited that you're already in phase 3 of the Academy. Are you coming to convention? Okay, good. Did you come last year?
No.
No,
this
okay.
will be my first year.
It'll be the best year. I'm just saying that. I say every year is going to be the best year, but this one's going to be really, really
better and better, huh?
It does. And we tweak it based on what like the students need, but not only that, like you haven't experienced it. Before we had the Academy, we had the Mastermind. And I always say that was like the dark
can't
years,
wait
but
to
it
get
was
in
good.
that.
It was like, it was a little rogue, but we're kind of bringing that back a little bit, bringing it back a little bit of the fire of what originally sparked the academy and sparked this movement of hairdressers, kind of creating this tribe and this community and really trying to level up our industry of, yeah, we're a hairstylist by trade, but you must become much more to have success in your life. So if you guys are listening to this podcast and you are like, oh my gosh, I want to come, you guys are speaking my language, I want to come join. Yeah, come join the tribe. We have an event April 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. We are inviting a small group of new students mixed in with Academy. Did you know that? Kind of?
Yeah.
So it's mostly Academy. It'll be mostly, we have a small group that we're letting in. We used to mix these events all the time. It was a lot of fun. We bring in like some of our, I call them our OGs, and we have them help coach. Because I think in order to grow, sometimes we have to get in a space of coaching. It's kind of fun to like see, like you've come so far, and then to go back and actually coach somebody. It's really rewarding. So if you guys are interested in that, go to NBR.education. That's our next event in Huntington Beach, California. It will be a good time. Also, you'll get to learn natural beauty rose as well as business marketing and sales. And you might think you're coming to learn pretty hair, but we might flip your world upside down just a tiny bit, and we're not going to apologize about it. Yeah. All right, you guys. See you guys next time on the Big Money Stylist Podcast. Again, so fun to have you, hear more of your story, and I am positive I will see you and call you out in our convention. So get ready. All right, bye, you guys.